Alright, My Hero Academia, Season 4, Episode 1. So a lot of us knew coming into this one that it was going to be a filler episode, which means that this doesn't happen in the manga. I mean, if you couldn't guess by now, there was a lot of dragged out, really inconsequential stuff that happened in this episode, so I'll keep this review brief. But this was more so for the majority of the fan base, the casuals, if you will. Mainly people that are just picking this up randomly on this episode because of the hype and the traction and, the newness of it. But then also the people that kind of just watch it from season to season. It's catching them up on all of the characters, what they could do, and what's been going on in the series. Because just in Class 1A alone, there are 20 characters. There is a lot of information to take in, so it's understandable. But, we kind of just want to get into this arc. But also, they need to focus on Class 1A and UA in general as much as they can, which is another part of this episode, because this, or at least the first part of this season, doesn't really focus on them. It really hardly ever touches on that stuff. It really only focuses on Izuku, Kirishima, and the big three. And then Ochako and Tsuyu are there sometimes, but this is like a different kind of season than we've seen so far. It's also darker, and I'll get into that. But also, if you would like a spoiler-free cliff notes of what's going to be happening in this season, please check out my video, Season 4 Explained. So this episode centers around Taneo Takuda, who is an anime-exclusive character, as per this being an entire filler episode. And apparently he's trying to sell the scoop of who the successor to All Might is going to be. That's why he goes to UA to figure out what's going on. But it's also subtly giving us some insight into what's going to be happening in this season. Like, he talks about how Mirio was working with Night Eye, how he saw him go in and out of that agency a lot, and that's going to be a big part of this season. It's also kind of hinted at the end of Season 3, when Mirio talks about how a lot of the experience that he's gotten, how he's become so good, was doing the internship. And then he says that Sir would really like Izuku. And then he also says that Night Eye is the former sidekick of All Might, but they don't really talk anymore. That's also something that's, I think, being revealed for the first time here, at least according to the anime. And then we're also seeing that the whole big thing that happened with All For One and All Might, the big fight in Season 3, apparently All For One's info is still top secret, and that's being still withheld by the police. And all that they know, like all that the media knows, apparently, is that he was the mastermind behind the League of Villains. And it's like kind of implied that they don't even know his name, which All For One, and I'm not even going to get into what his real name is because that's heavy spoiler stuff, but still pretty interesting. Also, they talk about David Shield in the anime, which I don't think they've talked about before. How All Might went to America and became partners with David. So I guess this means David Shield is canon, or just him at least being All Might's partner in America is canon. I don't think this directly means that everything that happened in the Two Heroes movie is canon, because that's really debatable. They don't really ever talk about Wolfram and all that crazy stuff that happened with that. So we don't have to really worry about that. So then we're getting some nice slice of life moments with Class 1A. It's just nice to be reintroduced to these characters and see what they've been up to, see what their dorm life is like, because we didn't really get to see too much of that, as it kind of happened at the end of Season 3, and then they were kind of thrown into the provisional arc. So it's cool to get this, moments here and there. And also, there's going to be a dark shift in tone in this season. Pretty much after this episode, and I'll get into what might be happening in the next episode when we talk about the preview. But I also like this guy's quirk, Taneo Takuda's quirk, which is like he could produce camera lenses from anywhere on his body to take pictures, and then he can print them from like his chest cavity, which is cool. I just thought that was an interesting reveal, something that we haven't seen before. Also, I thought the scene when he like forcibly takes a selfie with Izuku was kind of funny, because if this were to happen in like America, or at least in our current climate, that would definitely be considered assault, depending on who you did that with. I just wanted to put that out there, so just in case you thought that was a good move to do. But then he says something funny. He's like, I'm going to cherish this picture and keep it inside my body. Come on. I like audibly laughed out loud at that. It's just so weird that he would say that. And I get it. I get what he is saying there, but it also is implying that like the pictures that he takes, he could just somehow keep track of them and keep them inside of his body and then just print them out whenever he wants. I get, he's trying to make a book about, the beginning of the next symbol of peace, and he's gonna be like, hey, I met him when I was a kid. I understand it, but still, it's funny, especially if you take it out of context. But that's pretty much the episode. So let's get into the ending, and it's fine. It's like a standard anime ending, it's somber. It shows characters standing next to a tree, camera panning from left to right. But it's showing us this little girl, Eri. She's very important to this entire season. She's going to be throughout the entire thing. But it's showing us her as a toddler, and it's showing us her with her mother. I don't think we ever see this in the manga. We don't ever see her this young, and we don't really see her mother, I don't think. And then we see her standing in front of, a pile of clothes that looks like something tragic happened. It definitely did. I obviously can't talk about it. I can't tell you who that character is, but you can kind of connect the dots. But yeah, there is going to be something severely tragic to Eri that we will find out about as this season goes on. And then we see Twice driving the character known as Overhaul. We were introduced to this character at the end of Season 3, and obviously Twice is driving him to the meeting with him and the rest of the League of Villains. We also saw that develop at the end of Season 3 as well, and we're also seeing that in the preview. It's going to pick up from where that dropped off at the end of Season 3. We're going to see how this meeting plays out, and it really depends on how long that's going to be, but I really think that they might reveal a huge moment in the next episode during that meeting. Something crazy significant happens in that meeting, and it's gonna change the dynamic of the series pretty much. More or less it will. And then we see All Might talking to Mirio and Izuku. They're going to be talking about the internships and what they're going to be doing. And then we see Sir Night-Eye, who is revealed to be the former sidekick of All Might. So that's all going to tie together, obviously. But yeah, that was pretty much the episode. It was fine. I wasn't offended by this episode. It's nice to have these little cool slice of life, moments in episode. I like these characters. I like the world they live in. I like the dynamics that they have. I don't mind it. And it's just the first episode. It's kind of just, getting us primed for what's going to happen. And like I said, it's catching up the casuals. But yeah, the rest of this season is going to be awesome. Please check out my video, Season 4 Explained. great insight into what's going to happen without spoiling you. And if you like the review, guys, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. Gives you access to a weekly Q&A that I do on this channel. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. I'm going to be reviewing all of these episodes, 1 through 25 for the next 30 weeks or however long it's going to be. But yeah, have a great day.